Welcome to the Brand and Market Podcast, where branding clarity meets marketing strategy. I'm your host, Allie Haney, founder of Brand and Market, a boutique agency dedicated to helping small businesses craft intentional brands and effective marketing plans. Each week, I share practical tips and insights to help you, especially those of you in real estate-related industries, build a standout brand to attract your brand's biggest fans. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Brand and Market Podcast. I'm your host, Allie Haney, and I help Airbnb hosts and short-term rental owners brand, market, and co-host their properties. Today's episode is a special one. We are diving into a case study for a previous client that's all about taking a property that wasn't quite hitting its potential and turning it into a high-demand romantic retreat. So this was an investment property that was giving some sort of ROI, but the owner knew that the ROI could be higher. So if you are a short-term rental owner who's struggling to fill your calendar at higher nightly rates, then this episode is for you. We're going to be walking you through how we helped a cabin owner rebrand their entire property from getting average amount of bookings at an average daily rate to increasing those nightly rates, all by thinking outside of the box and creating a brand that resonates very, very deeply with their ideal guests. Here's the question. How do you take a one-bed, one-bath cabin with no internet in the middle of the mountains and turn it into a high-demand getaway for couples? Well, that's exactly what we did, and the results were game-changing. Let's look into the process. So first, let me introduce you to the owner. She is a multi-short-term rental owner. So her and her husband own multiple short-term rentals across Tennessee and Georgia. She also owns her own business, Thrive Vacation Homes. So look Jessica up if you're in the Tennessee or Georgia region. She is also a co-host for other hosts because she's done it so well for herself. So look her up. I'm going to tag her, drop her link in the show notes so that you can find her on Instagram too, as well as the property that we are talking about today. I initially met Jessica at Level Up Your Listing Summit. If you're a longtime listener to the podcast, you've heard me talk about Level Up. There was, in fact, an entire episode about how it changed my outlook on my business. Level Up Your Listing Summit. If you are in the short-term rental world in any capacity, whether that's you are looking to grow your portfolio, you're looking to co-host, you want to become a designer, whatever it might be, I highly, highly, highly recommend that event. They put it on once a year, and I believe this year it is going to be either the end of March or beginning of April. I actually purchased my ticket on the spot last year while I was at the conference or at the summit because I knew that I'd already gotten so much value out of it and the connections that I had made that I was going to want to come back next year. It's going to be in Arizona this year. I believe the same location it was last year, and that location was really, really great, right downtown in Phoenix. And you guys should come see me there, meet me there. I will also drop the link to their website in the show notes. I think that they might have put a pause on selling tickets at the moment, but they definitely are going to be starting to sell tickets again here soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's absolutely worth the money. Go and purchase your ticket if you haven't already once they open up those ticket sales again. But all of that to say, I met Jessica and another awesome group of women at Level Up Your Listing Summit. We are all still in touch today. Jessica's probably the one that I stay in closest contact with because I have been working with her on this brand for her Tennessee cabin. But it was a really great initial conversation where she was just introducing me to her cabin and the way that it existed at the time. So before they purchased it, it was already a short-term rental property. And so when they purchased it, they didn't do any major updates in terms of, like giving the property a brand, in terms of the furniture, the interior design of the listing. Obviously, they didn't change the location of the listing. So they kept everything the same when they purchased it, but she knew that they could probably be making a higher return on investment on this investment property. And that was one of the reasons that she was attending Level Up Your Listing. And I think that was like her third or fourth year, just to show you the value that's there. But now I want to talk a little bit more about that transition from it being the cabin that they purchased to where it is today. I mentioned that the cabin was fully furnished, but no major renovations had been done to like the structure or the design of the space. And according to Jessica, there was one really major drawback. And that drawback was actually that the cabin has no internet. When Jessica told me that the cabin had no internet, I think most people would see that as a major problem, but here's the thing. I actually didn't see it as a drawback. I saw it as an opportunity to be able to brand the property in a specific way. That lack of internet actually screamed UVP, or unique value proposition, to me, as opposed to a setback or a drawback. So I started trying to think, like, what could we do with this lack of internet to make this cabin stand out? There were a couple of other pain points that surrounded it, but seemed like the internet was probably the most major. The other two were, there wasn't any brand identity at the time. It was kind of like just another cabin in the Smoky Mountains. Let me step back for a second. The cabin's actually located in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Sevierville, I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's a very high concentration area of short-term rentals. It's a vacation area, like next to Gatlinburg, Dollywood, all of those attractions. And so we really have to find a way to differentiate that property amidst all of the other one bed, one bath cabins. So that was our challenge, was that we had to differentiate it. And she thought that the internet was going to work. The lack of internet was going to work against them. And then finally, there was not really a clear focus on who the property was for. Of course, it seems like it was specifically for couples because it's one bed, one bath. That's who would go there most often. But we wanted to narrow that ideal guest avatar down from just generally couples into a more specific type of couple, so that this cabin would attract those specific guests and not just any couple. We'll dive a little bit deeper here in just a second on how we catered to couples who were specifically looking for a romantic getaway or escape. And once we had that initial conversation at level up your listing, I am kind of a slow processor. I tell people that I like to marinate on things. So I told Jess I was going to marinate on this idea of how to make the internet, the lack of internet, a really actually desirable thing. And so when I was on the plane ride home, I just started doing what I do, scribbling notes in my notebook. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Harriet the Spy, but my mom used to always tease me that I was like Harriet the Spy with my notebook, always jotting down random observations and notes. Still me to this day. A habit that's died hard. And so I was kind of thinking through what it would be like to stay at that cabin. And I'm like, okay, we have so many distractions in our everyday world. It would actually be really, really nice to disconnect so that I could reconnect with my husband. Oh my God, disconnect to reconnect. Tagline. There's a tagline for the property. Oh my God. Okay. So let's keep brainstorming. So actually disconnecting to reconnecting actually sounds like paradise to me. I would do anything for a weekend or a week getaway where I could just focus on him. Paradise. That paradise word sparked this thought in the filing cabinet of my brain that when Johnny Cash was asked what paradise was, he described it as this morning drinking coffee with her, referring to June Carter, his wife. What if we made this entire Tennessee cabin all about this love story between Johnny Cash and June Carter? Okay, so I just kept going down this rabbit hole of what could we add to this cabin and therefore the overall brand to really support this theme of a one-of-a-kind love, a love story, and this being part of the love story. And so we were like, okay, well, I was in my notebook, scribbling notes still on the airplane. How about a record player? An old, actual vinyl record player with records of Johnny Cash and June Carter, and some of them even, together. What if we had this really moody bar cart where they could make really nice, fancy cocktails together? What if it had more inspiration of darker, moodier colors because Johnny Cash is the man in black? All of these things were just coming to mind as I was brainstorming what this overall brand and interior design and experience could really be. As I was going through, I was like, okay, we still need a name for the property. We have our tagline, disconnect to reconnect. we need a name for the property. And as I was thinking, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I absolutely love alliteration. In a previous life, I was an English teacher. So alliteration and assonance just like speak directly to my literary nerd soul. And so I'm like, okay, the cabin is in Tennessee. The whole point of going to this cabin is so that we can be together, just the two of us. So what if we name this cabin Tennessee, together? It's got my alliteration. It addresses the exact person who is the ideal guest. It's still got that love story attached to it with the word together. I absolutely loved it. So this idea was overall like it came together really, really perfectly. It was simple. This cabin wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a place to experience something, to rekindle something, to slow down, to actually sit and talk with one another face to face, heart to heart, and enjoy uninterrupted time together.
Hey host, you've got a lot of responsibilities on your plate. Guest communication, cleaning coordination, marketing, and everything in between. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while and love all the great actionable tips, but just have zero time to execute on them, then it might be time to get some help. You're in luck. I've been a superhost for over 6 years with over 200 5-star reviews, and I'm here to help you elevate your short-term rental business. I've co-hosted properties across 3 states, managing everything remotely and ensuring my clients' guests have a seamless 5-star experience every single time. Here at Branded Market, we focus on creating a unique guest experience through cohesive branding for your property. It gives boutique hotel rather than side hustle short-term rental. So whether you need help with guest communication, maintaining your listing, or just keeping things running smoothly day to day, my co-hosting services take the stress off your shoulders so you can focus on growing your business and portfolio or getting that side hustle back over to the side. Let me make your listing into your legacy, one great guest experience at a time. Ready to take your short-term rental to the next level? Head to www.brandonmarket.co/co-hosting to learn more about how my co-hosting services can help you.
When I started envisioning it, it really clicked perfectly with that love story, like the Johnny Cash and June Carter love story. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that and how it translated over to the interior design of the property. So let me preface this with I am not at all an interior designer. But when Jess went to the Level Up Your Listing Summit, she met a team of short-term rental designers that they called themselves strategy-led design, and they specifically they specialize in short-term rentals. This company's name is Somerled, Somerled. I'll link it in the show notes. They are absolutely incredible. If you love unique, again, strategy-led designs, then you are going to absolutely love working with Somerled. They do the research on all the other comps in the area to see what other amenities are bringing what specific nightly rates, to see what the typical guests and the reviews from those listings are. They bring all of that data in and they convert that into a beautiful interior design. And so I said, at this point, this was all very just conversational idea based, the whole Johnny Cash, June Carter, Tennessee Together brand concept. And so I said, Jessica, why don't you present that to them and just see what they say when they're doing their research on other comps in the area. The team at Somerled ended up loving the Tennessee Together idea, really embraced it and took it to the next level with that interior design. And I would love to just tell you guys, I'm going to link Jessica's listing in the show notes so that you guys, if you want to book it for your romantic couples getaway, please do. But just go think through some of the things that your ideal guest is going to want to see in that rental. So let me kind of give you a rundown of some of the things that Somerled added. First was an outdoor sauna. So it's absolutely perfect for the couple looking to disconnect to reconnect and just rejuvenate themselves, not only as a couple, but as individuals. They can go out there and spend time in the sauna. Next is an outdoor gazing dome. I've only ever seen these at wineries. They sometimes put them up in the winter for heat purposes. In Virginia, where I'm from, a bunch of the wineries would do that so that you could have outdoor seating in the wintertime. But it's basically a clear dome, and that dome is out in the yard the like exterior area so that they can stargaze at night. It is so cute. And they don't have the distraction of their phones because they don't have internet or service. And then one of the final things that they did that was like a bigger amenity, they already had a hot tub. So just keep that in mind. The hot tub is there on the outdoor porch. But one of the last things that I thought was really cool that they added was that there's actually no TV in the cabin, but there is a projector screen. And the projector screen comes down right in front at the foot of the bed. So the projector's screen is at the top, like obviously fastened to the ceiling, and it can come down so that you can sit there and watch a movie in bed. And I'm going to probably jump ahead of myself, but the attention to detail that the photographer took when she was taking the listing photos was unmatched. So when they took the listing photos, they actually pulled up Walk the Line, the movie with Joaquin Phoenix and I think Reese Witherspoon. And that was on the screen while they were taking the listing photos for the property. And then when she was also staging the record player, they had Johnny and June Cash, like the slip covers for the vinyls. That was right next to the record player as well. So absolutely incredible details for the photographer. It was like a team effort, everybody coming together to make this an incredible property. So all that to say, they added those amenities that would specifically speak to the ideal guest that's looking for that romantic getaway. And then the owner, I don't actually know if this was Jessica that did this or if this was Summerled that did this, but like I said, it was a team effort. So it doesn't matter because the final project is like absolutely perfect. But one of the other touches that I loved was that there is actually a box in the cabin that's specifically for your phones. So you turn your phone off and you put it in this like box so that you don't have to access it, or you can't access it until the end of the trip. Really taking away that distraction of the phone, really taking away that distraction of the internet. And then right next to that phone box is sitting a couple's card game to inspire those deep conversations that maybe you haven't had in a while since you like first started dating or what have you. Just making sure that guests have more than just like physical relaxation with the sauna and the hot tub, but also like that deep emotional connection or reconnection as well. I absolutely love everything about this property and how the interior design contributes to the experience of each individual couple. Okay, so once we had the experience and the design down, it was time for me to create that visual brand for the property. And I really wanted to make this feel like authentic and true to the story that we were telling. And so the parts of a visual brand that are included in my brand packages are the logos, so a primary logo and a secondary logo, the submark and an icon. So these are different ways to display your visual brand for different types of marketing collateral, whether that's online, like through social media or in an email marketing list, or if that's actually within the property. So one of the things that I don't know if Jessica does this at the Tennessee Together property, but one of the things we do at the Commonwealth is we will leave postcards with the Commonwealth logo on it, and it already has like a stamp on it so that people can write them their loved ones' postcards. So something to that effect, where if you have any like paper goods, that could be your welcome guide, postcards, anything that you might have, branded napkins or a branded welcome mat, like all of that. That's all those different places that you could use your visual brand to really solidify the brand presence within your property. Okay, so I'm going to try and like walk you through what it looks like. I'll link it in the show notes, the link to the blog post where I go, like you can actually see the visual brand, but I'm going to try and audibly describe what it looks like. So the primary logo, it says Tennessee Together in a beautiful script font, and the initial T and the initial the initial T and the last R are connected by a subtle mountain range, very simplistic and minimalist. And then in the bottom left corner, it says Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So it has the name of the cabin, Tennessee Together, with that mountain range over it, and Pigeon Forge, Tennessee right there. That secondary logo, so that's like a horizontal logo. The secondary logo is that kind of condensed so that it's stacked on top of each other. So if she ever has a place that is more vertical aligning rather than horizontal aligning, she's able to choose which one she needs and which one fits the space best. And then for the submark, I purposefully made the submark look very rustic to match the cabin's vibe. But it was also actually inspired by a Maker's Mark bourbon seal, another nod to that like Southern country feel. And of course, Johnny Cash had his like darker sides with addiction. Not that we're, idolizing that at all, but it does play into the overall brand of the cabin. So it's a circle with the two T's in the center, and that circle is very rustic, almost looks like a wax seal, like a Maker's Mark bourbon bottle. So last one is the icon, and this was one of my favorite parts actually. It's very simplistic. It's just two T's, but one of the T's is more masculine with the more masculine font with the it's like heavier, a little bit more rustic. And then the second T is the script T that Tennessee Together of the primary logo is written in. So bringing both of those T's together and like kind of crossing them, symbolizing, the man and the woman coming together for a couples retreat. This was like very intentional and a direct reflection of the property's ideal guest. Overall, the result from all of that visual brand is a cohesive and memorable brand that told the cabin story through every single detail, no matter where you looked. The new listing just launched last week with the new interior design, the new photos, the new branding. So we are very excited to see what the ROI on this overall brand property design makeover is, but we are already seeing bookings come in at the higher nightly rate, which means that it is indeed working. We just don't know the level to which it's going to work yet. So the calendar's filling up. The nightly rate is higher due to this investment of design and branding. And this wasn't just adding like a few amenities here and there. It was really about creating a legacy for this property. They took it when it was kind of unloved. It was furnished, it was running, yes, but they took it when it was unloved and they made it into this experience where not only are they building a legacy for their kids, where they can pass down this business or eventually sell this property as a business rather than just the real estate asset that it is in and of itself, but it's also, you're becoming part of the story of so many couples. Like, I cannot wait to read the reviews to see how many couples' relationships have been positively impacted by disconnecting to reconnect at Tennessee Together. Like this, you are creating a chapter of a story for someone. And that in and of itself is like enough to almost bring me to tears. We are positioning this as a destination within a destination market that's catered specifically to couples looking for that romantic getaway experience where it's just the two of them. And honestly, guys, it makes everything that I do like just worth it, like to be part of someone else's story and many, many stories at that. So before I get like emotional and cutesy and cry right here on the podcast, I'm going to wrap it up. So here are a few key takeaways from this case study. First, I want you to learn to reframe any challenges. You might think that not having internet is a drawback, while it can very much so be what differentiates you from everyone else in the area. And we can spin that so that that challenge is now an asset. Make it a selling point, even though it feels like it might not be. Second, I want you to look at your property as what can we do for our ideal guest to create an experience like no other. Your guests aren't just booking a place to stay. They are booking the overall experience. And we want to be able to not only attract them with the experience through the listing, but deliver the experience upon their arrival. Lastly, I really want to encourage you to kind of take a check on your brand's consistency overall. Everything from the interior design within the property to the photography on the listing to the visual brand of the logos and stuff that you have in your marketing collateral online as well as in your cabin. That should all be part of the story that you're trying to tell with your property that's going to attract the ideal guest that you want at your home. So if you are a short-term rental owner who feels like your property might not be living up to its investment potential or it lacks a clear brand identity, I would absolutely love to chat. I can help you turn your property into a standout brand that attracts more high-paying guests. We're going to raise that ADR, raise that occupancy rate, and fill that calendar. So I will link in the show notes a call link so that you guys can book a discovery call if you'd like. Lastly, I would just like to say thank you for tuning into today's episode. I feel like you really got to see kind of the thought process and the heart behind the creative process that goes into creating a brand for an Airbnb or for a short-term rental property. And I hope that inspires you to kind of dig in deep to your own property and your own brand. Until next week, here is to being the best in your brand and your market. Take care, y'all.
You just completed another episode of the Brand and Market Podcast. If you found this helpful, please rate, review, and subscribe to help others find this show and so that you never miss an episode. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for all the resources mentioned today. See you next Wednesday, and as always, I'm here cheering you on as you build your dream brand and business.